Hello everyone, nubkeks here, fresh out of the shower, and I'm back. It's been a little while actually. I was away at a wedding for the weekend, and at that wedding, or maybe right after, I'm not sure exactly when or how or why, I got food poisoning and have been absolutely miserable for the last couple of days with that. Feeling much better now this afternoon, and feeling alive again after shower. So that's nice. But a whole bunch of the videos that I'd even recorded a couple of videos. I'm just going to throw them away now because they're just kind of out of date, unfortunately. What I want to do in this video is sort of sum up a couple of them and go through them a little bit more quickly in terms of some gearing stuff. And I've got another gearing video tomorrow as well. That's a bit of a Valentine's themed one. But I showed you this spreadsheet before in a video at the start of the weekend, which was sort of planning out some of the champions that I was considering regearing and what I was going to use them for. So let's actually look at what we did today, and I could even show you how I did it as well. So one of the things I did, I said, all right, well, what would be my top picks in Live Arena? Like, what would I be locking in first? And certainly the first five, I'm pretty happy with on my account. This was something that we talked about before. Like, if we look at my top damage dealers, we've got Sun Wukong, we've got Rotus, a couple of defensive guys, and then we've got like a Rhonda as the attack nukers. The reason I think is a good synergy between the Wukong, the Rotus, and the Rhonda as the best attack nukers. Why? Well, Wukong and Rotus are both very weak to Ultimate Death Knight, so he becomes a very high pick for us to counter that. And Rhonda is actually really good against all three of these as well. So if they get the Wukong, we could potentially get UDK Rotus, potentially even Rhonda. If they pick, UDK Wukong or UDK Rotus, we could potentially counter that as well with a Rhonda. There's a few options around there. So I think Rhonda actually works really well for me as a counter pick. Let me show you those first. Basically, the 3 attack damage dealers. What have I done with them? All right, well, this is the big one, Sun Wukong. He is 5-star, and the other 2 are only 2-star. So I put Sun Wukong in my best nuking gear possible. And that has actually turned out to be merciless. It doesn't give us quite as many offensive stats as if we put him in lethal. If we put him in lethal, he'd have more attack. We could get a few hundred, maybe even 1,000 more attack if we did him in lethal. But there's a few benefits to merciless. So number one, I think the big one is this 4-piece bonus. 30% chance to decrease a skill's cooldown when dealing damage, a random skill. That's massive for Wukong. So I was trying him out in Hydra, where it makes him more consistent as a block buff champion, which is great. And then for Arena, like it's really all about his A2 in Arena. So potentially getting a cooldown on that and getting back to that some turns earlier is pretty massive. I mean, ultimately, we'd love to have him up at that 9-piece. That chance of extra turn would be great, but we haven't quite got there yet. But you can see with the 5-star stats, he's really looking quite scary. He has almost 7,000 attack, 238 speed, 336% crit damage. His crit damage is really high, and then he still has the 400 accuracy. He's even fairly tanky, ironically, in a weird way, with 53,000 health and 2,600 defense. Like, he's not super squishy by any means. Like, he could potentially take a couple of hits, which is funny. And then we do have these masteries on him. Stoked to Fury. I'm not quite sure why I gave him that, but I guess it doesn't really matter. He doesn't do his A1 much, I suppose, so that's totally fine. Yeah, I thought this would work well. So there you go. That's what we've done with the Wukong, and he's been pretty monstrous, honestly. I'm really happy with this. I think this is where a lot of the changes are going to be coming in the next while. Like, this is a merciless set after, what, 2 rotations of the Cursed City? Like, let's imagine in another 2 rotations worth of time, I could start to get other nukers into this, which is huge. Also worth mentioning, right? Why would he do more damage, though, in the lethal set? Well, the reason is this 35% ignore defense. Lethal is giving you only 25%, though you could put it with Cruel for another 5 for 30% total. In this case, with Wukong, I was running him before in lethal and perception. The 10% extra ignore defense makes his A1 and A3 hit a lot harder. That's pretty big. That's worth much more than the attack. Now, his A2, it ignores 50% defense. With 25% from lethal, if he procs Helm Smasher, he ignores 100% defense. And that's where the big, massive damage comes from with lethal and having more attack. Is his A2 has just got a much higher ceiling for the damage because he's got, like, let's say he has 1,000 more attack. He's ignoring all the defense anyway. Boom. With Merciless, though, I think what's so strong about this, and this is going to be something for Rotus as well, with the flat 35% ignore defense, what that means is even if he doesn't proc Helm Smasher, he's still going to ignore 85% defense. So yeah, it means that compared to Lethal, yeah, with Helm Smasher, it's not as strong. Or, well, I mean, if your stats were the same, it would be. But, you know, with worse stats, but more ignore defense, with Helm Smasher, it's not as strong. But without Helm Smasher, it is, like, way stronger. I did some testing, and it can be absurd. It can be, like, almost double the damage or something. Like, it is so much stronger than it otherwise was. That's pretty huge. I think that's a big deal. With Rotus, the Rotus gear I'm much less happy about, but it's still decent. So he's in Lethal and Cruel. He's got the 30% ignore defense, which is nice because he has the 60% ignore defense on his A3. So we want to really stack as much ignore defense as possible. By the way, Wukong is over in Polymorph. Obviously, it sort of disguises what type of build he is, and it's just good. He's the speed lead, right, often, so it makes sense. The Rotus, he's coming in. He's got 6,000 attack, 240 speed, 269% crit damage. It's 53k HP and 2,500 defense. So he's definitely nowhere near as strong as a lot of the Rotuses I've seen. Right, we don't have much Faction Guardians at all, unfortunately, in Undead, and he's only the 2-star blessing. But still, the 2-star blessing for Rotus is pretty great. That extra HP and extra attack is really, really nice. So yeah, that's where Rotus is at. These are the masteries I have him in. I actually haven't checked the masteries in these champions, funny enough, but I'm hoping that they're right. Let me know if I've made a mistake. Yeah, Rotus, he's sitting in a pretty decent spot. Like I said, he, for me, is a very high priority pick in Live Arena because he's such a strong champion. However, he's also one of the more easily countered champions, like Sun Wukong. Not Sun Wukong. See, Sun Wukong's not amazing against Rotus, I'd say. But Ultimate Death Knight basically hard counters Rotus. Arima also pretty much hard counters Rotus. And obviously I can't pick Harima myself, so we have to be careful when it comes to that. But that's what's happening with him. Then Rhonda, she's in the really hard-hitting gear. So she's in Lethal and Cruel. So again, she's got the 60% ignore defense. And she's kind of disgusting. She now has 8,000 attack. We have lost a bit of speed on her, 222, and 279% crit damage. So just imagine, with a 4-star blessing, you'd actually have 3,000 defense at that point, which would be kind of funny, I think. But she'd be over 300% crit damage, which is juicy. We've got a decent chunk of Faction Guardians there, so I'm actually pretty close to getting the speed, and that will push her up a bit more. So that's where we're at with the damage dealers, and these are her masteries. Am I happy with them? With this new gearing? I'm not sure. I think so. Like I said, they're all gonna... These top nukers will... hopefully sooner rather than later be switched over into Merciless builds on basically all of them, which is a pretty massive deal. But yeah, for example, Rhonda is certainly going to be doing enough damage. There's no way really to keep her alive. The big question for me is just her speed. Is 222 enough? Is it fine? I'm not 100% sure, but that's sort of where we're at with her. Then I did the defensive nukers next. So defensive nuker, I think we did Regearing first. So Regearing, he is now coming in with 6,600 attack, 243 speed, and 252% crit damage with 300 accuracy. So he definitely, his crit damage is a little bit low, and that is with the necklace upgraded with the extra crit damage, which is a slight bummer. But he's got really high defense, which I think is good because he does more damage with his passive. If he has more defense, right, 20% more damage, that's kind of massive. So I think it's really good value to have his defense very high. We sort of prioritize that. We want him to have good speed because he's sort of a crowd control champion as well, which is powerful, and he needs accuracy because of it too. Okay, that means his damage is a bit lower, but on the whole, I am happy with the Regearing. Then Torment was my second defensive nuker. We'll touch on Helicath in a second. Torment's coming in. His defense is a little bit low because he doesn't have that 3-star blessing. We're able to drop his speed a bit to get a bit more damage out of him. He's got the high crit damage, though, with 274% and 300 crit damage. So yeah, that's Torment. Torment is in Lethal and a little bit of Stone Skin. Regearing is in Lethal and Protection. So yeah, they should both be solid options. I do have a Sifi, which is why these defensive nukers for me are such a strong option, because Sifi is going to be a likely first pick, and the defensive nukers work really well with that. One interesting one with the defensive nuker, I basically ran out of lethal. I actually did a HP nuker after, and I was running out of defensive gear, or just damage gear. I actually decided to put Staltus into Stone Skin, just a 4-piece. he doesn't need Stone Skin. He's very tanky. I'd much rather have him in lethal, you know? Much rather. However, even Rathalos would be sick, I suppose. I don't know. But yeah, what we were able to do, we actually have him in really good stats for the most part. His defense, like a small bit low, but 230 speed, 273% crit damage, 236 accuracy. It's not too bad at all, even as he's very tanky. And we haven't even fully upgraded his stuff, so there's room to grow there. So Staltus is looking pretty juicy, but he does miss that ignore defense, so he's not going to be a top tier damaged either. I think he's more like if they're going for some sort of like fast, squishy team, and my nukers would just be killed. He's now an option to come in Stone Skin and survive. Candy is also in Stone Skin. Again, he's very high damage, very slow. It's a similar idea. I didn't re-gear him. He just actually stole some gear off of him. We have to re-equip it. He's probably one to re-gear because he's so ridiculously slow. Hefrak, he's also in this old build. Very, very slow, but with tons of damage. Again, might touch back on them at some point. And then Arix has come in as my top HP nuker. So for her, she's coming in 110% HP. Sorry, not 110%, 110,000 HP, 3,000 defense, 219 speed, and 258% crit damage. So, like I said, her crit damage is a bit low. We've got a little bit of room to grow that, of course. But you should be pretty hitting hard and hitting, yeah, being tanky. This gear will be switched onto Fatalis when I get Fatalis instead. Although, again, I've got different accessories, but I think our accessories should be pretty comparable. I will be switching this gear onto Fatalis because I think he's a bit better than Arix. And again, they're not an always pick, but kind of a niche pick. And ultimately, I'd love to get Arix into Rathalos set. Would be just disgusting on her. There's a couple of champions I'm looking at to do that. I do have the Forge Pass bought. I forged some of it, as you can see. Need to actually sort it out and upgrade it. Probably the next artifact enhancement event. But Rathalos set, adding this stuff in, even just one or two good pieces, it'd be pretty huge, right? For filling in offset pieces and getting that extra crit rate or crit damage is pretty nice. But getting turn meter for enemies hit by AoEs, ignoring 30% defense with AoEs, and then ultimately the 9-piece, which is very hard to get, the chance to repeat damage. Arix is a decent priority for Rathalos. My number one priority, though, is definitely going to be Razelvarg in Rathalos set. It's going to be just disgusting. Really, mostly Hydra champions, basically, and then maybe Arix for Arena. But champions with lots of AoEs, I think, yeah. Anyone like that for Hydra that's doing AoEs is going to be disgusting in Rathalos. Razelvarg's sort of the number one pick right there. So they're the nukers that I rebuilt. I also like sort of slightly updated some of them. So like Baron is sort of in a B tier, ready to go build now. He actually has high attack and decent crit damage and 200 speed. So like he's not too bad. Baron is totally serviceable. These were his mastery. Sorry, there you are. He's totally serviceable. He's ready to go. And yeah, I think that was it in terms of the nukers. Yeah, I think that's it for the damage, which is cool. Now the big question mark for me, of course, is Helicath. So let me show you sort of the problem, and let me show you how we do this. All right, so over here on the Hell Hades optimizer, we'll come back to what I did to Kymar. Let's jump into Helicath, who is one I really want to build. Basically what we'll do is this. We'll come in. We can use a GPU optimizer and optimize it for damage. I'll show you a different option as well. Let's say for Helicath, we want him to be probably like, here's where we can try a number of different things, right? We could want him to be really fast. That could be quite hard. Like, let's put him at 250 speed and let's see what happens, okay? In battle, we're going to set the enemy's defense to 4,200, which is, I think, fairly normal for Arena nowadays, right? Like, if I look at my Sifi, I have re-geared Sifi. We'll touch on that into 6-piece protection. So she now has the 50% chance for a protected buff, which is great for Hydra and also nice for Arena. So she's a little bit squishier. She's still quite fast, though. Got a good resistance now as well. So, like, Sifi's in a good spot. But, you know, she's coming in with almost 5,000 defense, I think. Like, let's see, Pythion. I think Pythion's gained more max HP. Yeah, he's really high. 4,300 defense. Like, high defense is quite standard. 4,200, I think, is the mark. It's a bit of a soft cap. You start getting quite large diminishing returns after that. Still worthwhile, but much more diminishing returns. It's also why ignore defense is so strong. The less defense you have, the more powerful your defense is, to kind of a massive degree, actually. Like, I think watching a video by Shinny, and he was talking about with Harima, right? reducing enemy ignore defense by 50% can actually like reduce enemies' damage in like by a third, right? So like Rotus will do 1/3 of the damage with his A3 that he would normally do if there's a Harima on the enemy team. Like, that's how much of an impact ignore defense has. It's kind of crazy. Let's see what happens, right? And then we can come in here, configure. We say we can use equipped artifacts, but we're not going to use stuff on locked champions. Optimize and go. And let's come back when this is done. All right, and here are our results. Actually, really good stats. Ah, and that's why. Interesting, is pulled in a Rathalos piece, a triple speed with crit rate, crit damage. That's actually, yeah, godlike. Nice. Actually do need to lock Moranex. We need to stop him stealing off of her. We'll talk about her in tomorrow's video. Interesting what's in here. Okay, these are champions we could absolutely steal gear off of. That could work, actually. We could totally run him in Swift Parry. So with Swift Parry, he's going to have, again, really good stats. He'll be fast, but he's going to miss the ignore defense. So I guess that's sort of the downside there. Like, it just seems there is, even look at the worst one, there is no Savage gear that he can go into. Let's lower it down a bit, right? So we could put him in at 240. Let's run it at 240 and see what it comes up with instead this time. Obviously, I do have better gear than this, but it's, you know, on champions that are already in and locked in. What I did at the start of this regearing process was just unlock everyone and be like, all gear is fair game. And then, you know, I sort of relocking people as important stuff came up. So like Noose is a great example. You know, Noose is kind of an exceptionally important gear for PvE. Not allowed to steal any gear off of Noose, you know, and so on. So we can lock sort of obvious stuff. So if you put him down to 240 speed, he's going to gain a bit more damage, all right? This might be slightly better, actually. And it's sort of similar gear. So yeah, he's going to hit reasonably hard, but he's not going to have the ignore defense. That might still be enough, right, to really frustrate some teams. Swift Parry seems the way to go. I'm honestly pretty happy with that. Let's run it one more time. Let's put him down like to 220. Let's run a more regular nuker speed and see if like it will pop him into lethal with that or something. We can sort of compare like for like. I think probably the 250 speed Swift Parry might be the way to go. Here he's gaining like 56% damage. But yeah, this is sort of essentially the way you do it, right? You can also, if you want, you can come into the battle settings and you could say, okay, I will have increased attack or increased defense. You know, you can do that sort of stuff as well if you want to. That can affect the sort of defense to crit damage or attack to crit damage ratios. Here we go. We could get him in lethal if we ran him at 220 speed. So moving him in lethal, crit damage goes way down. His resistant accuracy way down, and his speed is way down. But he does have the lethal effect. So he's gaining kind of 56% damage. So 56% damage versus run him 250. You even see how fast could he go 270 or something? Like, could we make him real fast? So 50% more damage compared to what he's in now. Yeah, he'd only be 30% more damage, 36. We'd be losing a chunk of damage. I think, honestly, though, for Helicath, that might be worth it just for the sheer amount of speed we could get him in. Yeah, like we put him in like this. Yeah, like it's a lot more speed, honestly. That might be worth it. Show final results. We get him super uber fast. It's not super uber fast, but you know, for me it's pretty quick. Pretty quick. This is definitely one I want to add in. Ooh, he's only getting 20% damage. Like it's a pretty big damage loss here. Doable though. Oh wow, he'd be in an attack banner at that point. Okay, yeah, that's getting a little bit desperate. 20%. Let's say 260. Potentially cutting in. I'm thinking let's say the 250 mark. Again, you could put in more variants of this. It depends how much time you have, how much you want to tinker. Like 26 and 29. 9's not bad. Yeah, ideally we'd have him in really fast lethal, but then again, ideally you'd have all your nukers like 270 speed with 1,000,000 defense and crit damage, wouldn't you? You want to have it all. Let's see how he's looking with this one. Okay, again, he's stealing that attack banner, which I don't really want to do. Yeah, let's settle in for the 250 and we'll slap that on him. But yeah, that's basically how it goes. And we can leave it at that. So that will be Helicath regeared as another damage dealer, which will be great. I'm actually going to mark him as a proper arena champion to make up for that. What other stuff have I done then? Let's touch on the my other top champs here. What have I been doing? So we touched on Sifi. Yumiko and Mikage. Let's talk about those quickly. Fast supports. I'm not entirely happy with these builds so far. So with Yumiko, we've re-geared her a decent chunk. We've dropped her accuracy a good bit to 569. Actually need to run her through the optimizer again. I'm thinking like 500 accuracy for her should be fine. I'm trying to get her speed higher. 338 speed. Probably a lot of you are looking at that and going, that's very slow for like a late game Yumiko. And it is. I've been trying to get this higher. So this is something we're going to likely be leaning on and trying to really, really crank that up. That's difficult to do. Lady Mikage, I don't have her yet. She is going to be much easier to build. Now, funny enough, I know Biohack loves Kaja, and I'm actually thinking maybe I should be using Kaja more as well, because I do have a triple speed banner. I don't have a triple speed banner for Shadowkin. So the Yumiko or the Mikage can't have triple speed banners. I don't have triple speed for Arbiter. I don't have one for Sifi either. I just have real shit luck when it comes to banners and rolling speed. But we do have a triple speed, actually a really good banner with some defense percent and resist as well for Kaja. Kaja is in probably what's going to be somewhat like the Lady Mikage build. Now, obviously, we're going to lose that resist banner. We'll gain an accuracy banner. So I think Mikage can probably work with more like 400 accuracy because she got the ignore resist from being mythical from her books. But like there's quite a bit of room to grow here. Like these boots are not ascended with the speed, right? And we've got some triple speed rolls that don't have good glyphs. So there's quite a lot of room to grow it. This is like a double speed, but it's mythical. So it's basically a low triple speed roll. 21 is a little low. But it's still triple speed. So we've got a good bit of room. Like we can actually, I think if we put glyphs on these and get this up, like what do we get from this? An extra 6? No, ooh, an extra 9. Like an extra 9 speed there. Plus, I don't know, we get an extra few. Like we could actually quickly enough have her running pretty fast, right? Very fast. So that could be an option. Fast Kaja could actually be pretty good. That could be cool. Likely, like I said, this gear will switch over to Lady Mikage, who I do really want to be fast, bringing in crowd control, the ally attack. I think she's just going to work really well as a fast champion. So that's sort of what's happening there. We've covered the rest of these. We looked at Python, in fact. Ultimate Death Knight, made a small change to him. Again, I might run this through the optimizer. We obviously want him in 6-piece stone skin with as little speed as possible. And we want him to have resistance. So he's up to 500 resist now, which isn't too shabby. He's got a resist chest. He's actually quite lucky. He's got resist with the crit resist banner. Bad substats, but look, it's resist banner. Reaction is really strong. Reaction so good on him because it means that ignore stone skin champions basically can't kill him. Like even a Jorgid is very, very unlikely to kill your ultimate Death Knight, which is nice. We've got room to roll this up and stuff. Yeah, I might try to get his resist even higher. Like 500 is not bad. It's a starting point. Like he's likely, I think with 500 resist, you know, basically none of the nuke Wukongs are going to be able to polymorph him, which is sort of the biggest goal, right? Nuke Wukong, not going to work. Accuracy Wukongs will, though. I think that's probably fine. So maybe we'll leave him like that. But he's very tanky. And yeah, so that's sort of what's happening with Ultimate Death Knight. So yeah, the other one I do want to change as well is nail, so we can actually jump to that. Yeah, quick glance at the other stuff. We touched on Helicat there. Romantu and Kaimar are now locked in for some PvE stuff. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Vitalis we've talked about. Mithrala, Bizarre we've looked at, and the rest of these. And Cora is another interesting one. I'm not quite sure how to put her. She'd probably be in like at least 4-piece stone skin as a cleanser, but she'd probably be coming in pretty fast. I should probably put in like Elva here. So actually, let's switch that. So Kaimar's dropped out of sadly, my PvP setup. Would have been good. He's dropped out. Elva comes in now as a strong pick, I would say. Arbiter's in there and all the rest. Arbiter is my fastest champion, and unfortunately, she's not super fast. Like my fastest champ, you can see speed gear is just not being kind to me. We've got, a triple speed weapon, and then we've got speed boots, actually really good speed boots. But then we're dipping into Righteous. We've got a couple of triple speed pieces. Actually, we have a quad speed perception, then a triple speed perception resistance with Dabby. But she is coming in at 375 speed. So we don't have the Faction Guardian speed, which would be nice. And like banners. I'm just cursed by banners, right? You have the double speed banner, which is fine, but yeah, no mythicals or not many quad rolls and stuff like that. We're just not super fast, unfortunately. Um, yeah, okay, cool. Shazar is the other one I'm probably going to regear and sort of leave it at that, I think, for Arena for now. Because right now, Shazar, he's very slow, but he's got tons of damage. So let's actually see if we could do a little bit of a regear on him as well. Let's see that. And this is, I think, a very different sort of one. So here we go. Let me grab this one. That looks absolutely fine to me. Don't really use the husks anymore and Roshkar. Yeah, don't really use these champs. We can regear them. I'm going to take a screenshot in case this goes wrong and it disappears. I think it should be fine. Let's take Lord Shazar. And for him, we're going to use the Brute Force Optimizer, where you can set stat priorities, because this is important. So let's say he wants 100% crit rate. And now this is where we can set the priorities. So attack is the highest priority. Then accuracy. I'm going to say we want at least 500 accuracy. And let's say we want, I don't know, let's give him, see if we can get him 240 speed. See how fast we can make him. And the Brute Force Optimizer is a bit more simple. You can set the sort of stat priorities. I find this is good for champions with weirder builds, or like if you want just to focus on speed, stuff like that. This is probably the way to go. Let's see how this comes up, though. I'm curious what we get for Lord Shazar. Yeah, I'm just thinking, seeing as he is 6-star, he really makes sense to bring in. He's got an amazing aura as well. Awkward thing about Shazar is he really needs the crit rate because he decreases the detonation of the bombs, which is pretty huge. And his A1 does hit pretty hard as well. Let's see how we go. Oh, we also probably want to lock him in to 4-star stone or 4-piece stone skin. I do like that. Let's see what it comes up with first. Okay, so we lose a lot of attack, putting him in perception. So let's actually force him into a set. Force him into stone skin. Say, I want 4-piece stone skin. Just like, I just think it's really powerful on a bomb champion to come in and be like, okay, you can stop me with lockout, but the stone skin's likely to protect me. And if I get my bombs off and you don't have a cleanser, you're kind of dead, right? So he's more of a niche pick, but he could definitely warrant a ban sometimes. Gaius would be another good option. Nishak I've got built more for PV. Yeah, Gaius is built more for PV. Sorry, Nishak is built more for PvP. Yeah, so that's the deal with Shazar. He can kill Ultimate Death Knight with the Stone Skin, which is nice. Like common sort of Stone Skin champions, he could kill a Sea Thief using Stone Skin. Ultimate Death Knight would be a big one. Pytheon. He would struggle against Elva. Mithrala would be a problem as well. Those cleansers. Ancora will be a problem. So it's a little bit awkward, but you know, it's sort of a niche pick. Not an always pick, but a sometimes pick. Oh wow. Like this would be okay. He's losing so much attack there. That's really not good. So let's go back from that. Lower the speed. Let's say 30 speed. Let's lower the priority of accuracy. Let's keep his attack higher. So let's see if we can get his attack higher. And we just sort of fiddle with it and tweak it as we go. I guess there's no battle stats here. It's just equipped artifacts or whatever. Yeah, that's sort of the goal there. But that is what I've been doing with my regearing. In terms of like Cursed City, there's not been, I haven't really done much of that yet. I've just honestly postponed it. Oh, I should mention Vulcanen. I'm using Vulcanen right now in Hydra. So he's coming in pretty darn good knockoff gear, like 240 speed, 200 accuracy, 281, almost 6,000 attack. He's in great lethal gear as well. I do use him in Hydra. We'll showcase him with the Gwendolyn soon. I tried to regear Krisk into Cursed, but didn't happen. So Krisk is, I just don't have any good Cursed gear yet, sadly. I've been farming a bit, but not enough, clearly. Need to get some Cursed gear. If we got Krisked into Cursed, I think we could use Turvold instead of Vulcanen and Hydra. And Turvold is sort of prepared for that. 7,000 attack, 229 speed, 287% crit damage. He's ready for Hydra, baby. He's ready to slam. He's ready to go. So that's one to look forward to. Yeah, that's one to look forward to. Let's see Shazar now. Yeah, the attack is real low. Not loving it. Let's say at least 6,000. Let's force that to be higher. And let's see what we can do. Can we make it happen, Shazar? Want to see at least 6,000 attack. Probably should put in like a damage calculator for the Shazar to make sure the bombs will hit hard enough. In fact, we could do that right now. Let's do that right now. It's actually not coming up with anything. This could be bad. Let me do this. Okay, I've run. We're actually having a tough time coming up with anything here. It's not making much difference. Like, is there a point in regearing him for 10 speed? I mean, let's see if it even happens. Very curious about this, but basically he's got a 4.2 multiplier in his bombs, but he puts out 2. So you have an 8.4 multiplier for the 2 bombs. With 6,000 attack, it's going to do 50,000 damage. With the 2 bombs. With 7,400, which is what he has now, he'll do 62,000 damage, which is pretty good. Very good against Stone Skin. It will easily kill anyone with Stone Skin. But apart from that, it's a bit weaker. It obviously fully ignores defense, so it will do the full damage. Yeah, his bomb multipliers, unfortunately for Shazar, are a little bit low. A bit underwhelming. I guess, you know, it's just a free one-shot. Wow, it really won't do anything. Maybe this is bugged. I don't think I've done anything wrong. I don't think so. If I put him in 1 speed higher than he is, only 6,000... This seems like it's broken. It seems like I've done something wrong here. If it can't come up with this... What have I done? He has to wear Stone Skin. 4 pieces. It doesn't seem to be coming up with anything. That's unusual. That's definitely done something wrong. We might have to redo that later. I've clearly inputted something incorrectly. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. It's fine. We'll figure it out. But yeah, that's sort of where we are at with the different champions. Let me know if you have any questions or any advice or tips. I am curious what you guys think. But yeah, that's sort of what's going on. And yeah, like I said, you know, Seer, Noose, those sort of champions. Kaimar now, Romantu. There's a few champions that are sort of locked in to needing builds for PvE. Artak, who I did a video on with his new regen, like he needs to be locked in with his gear. All these make like a pretty big difference. Actually need to gear up Islin. I think I've got him booked. He's going to be real nice for Amius. He's one I should slap some gear on for Amius for sure. I don't think his masteries. This probably doesn't need them. Yeah, okay, we've definitely broken this. It's definitely something's gone wrong here. Let me pause it. Let me see if I can quickly figure out what I've done wrong. Okay, fixed it, sorted it out. Anyway, I put Helicath into his gear, so he's switched into the Swift Parry. I did actually not go with the recommended accessory, so this way we've got double reaction. And it was telling me to put him in the attack banner still. So unfortunately, again, this banner is not amazing. Like, bunch of attack and flat HP and flat attack. It just kind of sucks, but it is a defense with speed, which is nice. So Helicath, he's come out 240 speed, got solid defense, high crit damage. Honestly, his stats are great. The only downside is it's not lethal or whatever, but I still think it's good. And right, Swift Parry I think is useful. And Helicath, I think the double reaction is nice. So fairly happy with that. Let's jump over now to Shazar, where the stuff should basically be done. Here it is. So we actually went back to using the GPU optimizer, and that's what we're going to be doing. And again, we don't really care here for anything else. So this is what we're getting out of it. 7,000 attack, 239 speed, 579 accuracy. So he's losing a small bit of attack. He's losing a small bit of accuracy. He's gaining 40 speed, which is pretty massive. He's actually doing that with attack percent boots as well, which is cool. Attack percent gloves. There's actually quite a lot of room here to grow that attack percent a lot, which I think puts him in a fairly decent spot. As you can see, it's definitely still a very niche pick. I think I will pop him into this gear. Should be fine. Again, we're going to need to re-gear all these other champions, fix them up, but that's okay. We can do that. Like Royal Guard, not really using him for anything important anymore. Calvalax, nothing really important. Herndig, yes, he is important for Dark Fae, but we can make that work. Yeah, we can re-gear them. But yeah, like he's not gonna one-shot people, and like bolster set's a big problem for Shazar. It's really more about trying to counter Stone Skin teams. I think it's probably worth doing, having one good bomb champion. I think that's probably fine, and he probably makes sense at the 6-star. Again, the downside for him is you need the crit rate, which is really awkward. Like, we've got to have a whole bunch of crit rates, so like triple crit rate. We can maybe do Gaius instead. I mean, let's double check that. Let's run it through with Gaius instead. Maybe Gaius would just be a better option. So let's take champions. Take Gaius. I think Gaius is 3-star, which is still pretty good. Again, we'll go into our optimize. bigger. That's fine. We'll tell him sets 4-piece stone skin. Okay. And this time we're going to be using balance mode, right? We're going to set our stat priority. Okay. This seems fine. Say Gaius already wants at least 5,000 attack. Let's see if we can get him real fast. Sure. Yeah, let's see if we can get him fast. Let's say just 500 accuracy. Sure. Then prioritize like attack and speed really high. Let's see if we can make it work. So it is throwing stuff back. Wow. Okay, not many options, but it's doable. So yeah, we could absolutely get Gaius to 7,000 attack, 500 accuracy, 288 speed. So being fast with crowd control. Okay, and sort of stealing some gear. That's, yeah, and I'd say not that big of a deal. Honestly, like I can happily steal these. And again, there's a lot of room for attack percent on this and more accuracy on these. That could absolutely work. Honestly, this looks, I think this is better. I think having him fast as like the crowd control champ is probably a little bit better. I think we'll go with Gaius. Yeah, I think so. I feel a bit bad because he's the Shazar. I think we can possibly do them both. Anyway, I'll work that out. That's where we're at, though, guys. Trying to figure this stuff out as we go. But yeah, thank you for watching, though. I hope that you found it helpful and interesting where I'm at with the gearing. Let me know, actually, what would you between the Gaius and the Shazar? I still have some time till the free swap ends, right? I go away. We still have, 15 hours. So, hey, that's grand. I can get your comments on the video. Let me know what you would do. Also need to do some accessory clear out real bad. We are overflowing, actually overflowing everything. Who knew? I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.